quietly withdrew all her life savings from the bank, determined to live like a rich woman in a small city and spend every last penny in one go. But even on her very first flight, she still booked the cheapest economy seat. The space was already tight, and the man in front kept leaning his seat farther and farther back until he was practically sitting in her lap. Before Georgia could even say a word, the man called the flight attendant and filed a complaint. And without knowing anything about the situation, the flight attendant asked Georgia to make room for him, then casually called over the head steward for backup. In the past, Georgia might have stayed quiet to avoid trouble, but not anymore. She was done playing nice. She called out the airline's greed, saying they had crammed in as many seats as possible just to make more money. Even trains were more comfortable than this, and she wasn't about to spend the whole flight with a stranger basically sitting on her. Other passengers started nodding and chiming in, but the head steward had no patience for someone flying economy and daring to complain.
Had you chosen to fly first class instead of economy, you would have had plenty of room in one of our cocoons. Pardon?
How much for the damn cocoon?
Without hesitation, Georgia paid for the upgrade, and just like that, she was in first class. The treatment was a world apart. Not only did they serve gourmet meals, the flight attendants were suddenly extra attentive. When the plane landed, snow was already falling heavily. Outside, a long line of passengers waited for taxis. It could be hours before she got one. That's when Georgia noticed an ad in the corner. Private helicopter transport. She didn't think twice, dropped the cash and booked one on the spot. For the first time in her life, Georgia boarded a helicopter and flew straight to a 5-star hotel. What was normally a 2-hour drive took her just 30 minutes. Even though the hotel was filled with celebrities and VIPs, her entrance was so over the top, it left everyone whispering, wondering who she was. Inside, she was stunned by the luxury. Elegant murals lined the walls, and everyone staying there seemed to be someone important. Oil tycoons from the Middle East, beauty pageant winners she'd only seen on TV, and entrepreneurs enjoying the high life. And now, she, a regular sales clerk, was among them. But since she arrived so early, there were no standard rooms available. The only one left was the $4,000 a night presidential suite. The front desk assumed the price would scare her off, but Georgia simply asked,
Did you see me play?
Hearing she was taking the suite, the hotel manager rushed out to greet her. Georgia, wanting to tip like a real rich person, had no idea how much was appropriate, so she just stuffed all the bills in her hand into the bellhop's pocket. The poor guy broke into a cold sweat, refusing to take more than a single note. Looking out from her room, the snow-capped mountains behind the hotel took her breath away.
What world was I living in?
Georgia looked like a woman of wealth, but the truth would shock you. She was just a regular department store saleswoman. She worked hard, brought in solid numbers for the company, but her salary hadn't changed in 20 years. She got the same paycheck every month, used coupons to buy discounted groceries. Also, she could save for the dreams she had written in her notebook. If she had one joy in life, it was cooking. She loved food. Every night after work, she'd recreate dishes from cooking shows, exactly as shown, but she never ate them. She gave them to the neighbors' kids to try, while she ate bland salads to lose weight. Then one day during a checkup, the doctor gave her devastating news. She had a terminal illness. She didn't believe it. She went for a second opinion, even brought in a panel of specialists, but the diagnosis didn't change. She had only 3 weeks left to live. Worse yet, her health insurance wouldn't cover the $350,000 surgery. Georgia said she would sue, but they just handed her a contract, hundreds of pages long, with enough fine print to make her head spin. It was all in there what they would and wouldn't pay for. She could barely read through any of it. The news crushed her. After saving every penny her entire life, she still hadn't crossed off a single item from her dream list. She hadn't tasted the food she always wanted to try, hadn't visited the places she longed to see. The weight of all those regrets broke her. She couldn't understand. She had lived her life honestly. Why did something like this have to happen to her? Maybe it was anger. Maybe it was courage born from despair. But the next day, she made a decision. She wasn't going to waste her life savings on a surgery. She was going to spend every last cent and finally live. So she marched straight into her boss's office and did something she had always dreamed of. She fired him, but her boss didn't take her seriously. Before she could even speak, he smugly answered a phone call in front of her. Not this time. Georgia snatched the phone and smashed it in a fury, then turned around and walked out without a second glance. She felt lighter, freer than she'd ever been. Right then, Sean, her longtime crush, ran after her. He held out 2 basketball tickets, asking if she'd like to go with him. He didn't know she was sick. If this had happened before, she would have been thrilled. But now, it was too late. She didn't have time. She turned him down gently. Georgia had made up her mind. She was going to check off every item on her bucket list, and that meant taking the trip of a lifetime. So she went to the bank, withdrew everything she had, and that brings us back to the beginning.
I'm just gonna blow it.
When she reached her destination, she walked into a luxury boutique, tried on every beautiful outfit she liked, and bought them all. She returned to the hotel and indulged in every luxury spa treatment available. When she got hungry, she went to the hotel's restaurant and ordered every single one of their signature dishes. No substitutions, no requests. She asked that the executive chef prepare them personally. The moment the chef saw the order, he lit up. She had picked all his favorite recipes, the ones few people ordered because of how rich and heavy they were. For the first time, someone respected his work, so he decided to cook the entire entire meal himself. Soon, her table was filled with a feast. He even came out to serve it in person. They hit it off immediately, talking and laughing like old friends. At the next table, several people were watching closely. They were shocked. One of them was the chairman of Georgia's old company. He couldn't believe his eyes. A star chef, personally serving a guest? That never happened. Not even for someone like him. The senator at the table was convinced Georgia had to be some kind of royalty in disguise. After dinner, he introduced himself, hoping to build a connection. The chairman saw it all. He was furious. He felt like Georgia had stolen his spotlight, so he had someone look into her. But what they uncovered was a secret so shocking, it could change Georgia's life forever. Want to know what happens next? Follow me, I'll be sharing the rest of her story soon.